Hi everyone, welcome back to Feeding Ravendoodles, a pet parent's guide to nutrition. Today's topic is a popular one, raw diets. Now, raw diets have been increasing in popularity and market share over the past decade or so. And a lot of pet parents have been swayed by their flashy marketing, anecdotes that have been given by friends, or even heard about certain celebrity veterinarians advocating for raw feeding. We've all heard that raw is the cure-all for so many diseases like arthritis, allergies, stinky farts, dental problems, and even things like cancer. Raw diets are allegedly more natural and support the pet's immune system. So all this stuff sounds great, right? Why wouldn't you feed raw? Unfortunately, none of these statements are backed by any sort of evidence. They are what we call anecdotes, which are simply stories that are based on personal experience, not actual scientific evidence. What scientific evidence does tell us, however, is that raw diets pose a lot of health risks to your pet, your family, and the public. So that's what I'm going to be talking to you about today. Simply put, raw means uncooked. Now, this can include a variety of things from raw meat, organs, bones, to eggs or unpasteurized milk. Raw meat-based diets can be found in the store and can be labeled as raw, so usually they're refrigerated, fresh, frozen, freeze-dried, or dehydrated. Or they can be like kibble that is infused with like raw bits of meat. Can also include homemade raw diets as well. Many raw products, however, might surprise certain pet owners and they might not even know that they're feeding raw. So this would be things like treats like rawhides, marrow, bones, hooves, pig ears, chicken feet, bully sticks, which is actually the penis of a bull, or dehydrated or freeze-dried commercial treats like dehydrated liver or freeze-dried beef heart, for example. There are many myths surrounding the benefits of raw diets, and I'm going to need to debunk some of these myths before we go any further into detail about raw diets and their dangers. Dogs are technically omnivores. They have evolved through domestication and they are now able to eat many different types of food products, not just meats. They also do not require meat products. Technically, they can get all of their nutrients from other sources. Cats, on the other hand, are what's called obligate carnivores, and they do require meat for certain of their nutrients. However, cats have also evolved, just like dogs, to be able to digest many different types of plant products as well. AVCO defines natural as derived from plant, animal, or mineral sources. It doesn't include synthetic or man-made artificial products, but it does include many ingredients that are found in all different types of pet foods, not just raw. So raw isn't your only option if you're looking for a more natural pet food. In regards to the natural lifestyle of wild dogs and cats, this is kind of irrelevant because our dogs and cats are domesticated. They're so far removed from their wild ancestors that their natural lifestyle doesn't really have any hold on their lives anymore. So if they were truly living life as nature intended, they wouldn't be sharing our homes and our beds. So this really isn't a valid argument into feeding raw. It is true that raw diets may be higher in fat and essential fatty acids than some kibble or canned products. This is because raw diets are very low in carbohydrates and fiber, and thus their protein and fat content goes way up. So they're not the only foods that have increased fatty acids, so raw is not your only option if you have a pet with skin issues or a dull coat. You can always add a omega fatty acid supplement, or you can talk to your veterinarian about specific diets that are made for pets with itchy skin or a dull hair coat. There is absolutely no scientific evidence to support this. So Raw bones actually can cause many, many more problems than they can solve. For one, they can cause teeth breakage, wearing down of teeth, or chipping the teeth. They can also cause your pet to choke, and they can cause lacerations or cuts in the mouth and the esophagus. And they can cause what is called a foreign body obstruction, which means that they are creating a blockage in the GI tract or the digestive tract, and that has to be removed by surgery. Raw bones are also full of bacteria, just like raw meat, and that doesn't contribute to good oral health. This is a myth. All of our stomachs, dogs, cats, and humans, have a similar pH of between 1 and 3. This is very acidic. The pH scale goes from 1 to 14, and the below 7 is considered acidic. Most bacteria do thrive around a neutral pH, so between 6 and 8, but a lot of them can survive at a very acidic environment. Therefore, we are all susceptible to illness from bacterial contamination in our food. As I said before, raw diets tend to have increased fat and protein and decreased carbohydrates, including fiber. However, low fiber isn't always a good thing. Fiber is very important for maintaining regular fecal output and healthy bowel function. Smaller stool also does not equate to less waste. Just because you don't see it coming out of their stool doesn't mean that pets aren't excreting or storing the nutrients that they don't need immediately. For example, protein that is being wasted comes out in the urine, not really in the feces, so you wouldn't be seeing that. Also, if they have too much fat in their diet and they're not using it immediately, they'll store it in their body for later use. There is absolutely no scientific evidence to support any of these claims. The immune system is a complex and ever-changing network of cells and messengers. It cannot be boosted by the diet. However, a good way to ensure that your immune system is getting the right amount of nutrients is to feed your pet a complete and balanced diet that is formulated for their species and life stage and is being fed in the correct amount, so the right amount of calories to keep them in an ideal body condition. Raw diets contain bacterial pathogens or disease-causing microorganisms that are constantly stimulating the immune system to produce inflammatory cells. This doesn't equate to boosting, and it actually might help lower the immune function. Additionally, none of the diseases I mentioned can be cured. They may be able to be managed medically or through diet, but you'd be hard-pressed to find a board-certified veterinary internal medicine specialist or a board-certified veterinary nutritionist who would recommend a raw diet to manage any of these diseases. Pets with chronic diseases are what we call immunocompromised. This means that their immune systems don't work properly, and they're not going to be able to fight off multiple things at once. Therefore, pets with these chronic diseases should not be eating a raw diet. Bacterial contamination is one of the most important reasons to avoid feeding your pets a raw diet. Raw products all contain pathogenic organisms that can cause disease in both humans and animals. This includes bacteria like Salmonella, E. coli, Yersinia, Clostridium, Listeria, Mycobacterium, Campylobacter, Brucella, and others. Raw meat can also contain parasites like Toxoplasma, Sarcocystis, Trichinella, Cryptosporidium, Taenia, Neurickettsia helminthica, and Echinococcus. Now, pet food companies are relied upon by the FDA to kind of self-police. They are supposed to have internal quality control measures and inspections so that they ensure no unsafe food hits the shelves. However, lots of pet food companies don't do this, and they are not what we call reliable and trustworthy. A lot of pet food companies will only get caught if a pet gets sick and somebody reports it to the FDA. Then the FDA will recall the food. The FDA just simply doesn't have the manpower or the time and resources to go and inspect every batch of food from every single pet food company in the country. That's why they rely on this system. Raw pet food manufacturers do not cook their food. Obviously, that's the definition of raw. But the only way to kill these disease-causing bacteria and pathogens is to cook the food. Therefore, raw pet food manufacturers are notorious for putting dangerous products on the shelves, and this can be shown in all the different recalls that have happened over the years for raw products. Now, these bacterial pathogens live in our pets' saliva, on their fur, on their food dishes, in their bedding, and all around our home when we feed a raw diet. They're also shed in our pets' feces and urine. Now, animals and humans that are in contact with a raw-fed pet are in danger of contracting these pathogens. This includes animals like at the dog park, playmates, or visitors on the street. And for humans, this includes people who live in the home as well as guests. Additionally, pets in the vet clinic are very susceptible to inoculation with these bacterial pathogens. So when you bring your raw-fed pet to the vet, you're putting every patient in that hospital in danger. Raw homemade diets, just like all homemade diets, can be disastrous if they're not formulated correctly by a board-certified veterinary nutritionist. However, most board-certified veterinary nutritionists do not recommend feeding raw, and therefore homemade diets should not include any raw meat, bone, egg, or unpasteurized milk products. You can also check out homemade diets for a little more information on that. Now, raw commercial diets also tend to be not complete and balanced. Most are labeled for intermittent or supplemental feeding, which means that they should be fed as treats based on the label. Some don't even have a nutritional adequacy statement. You can check out How to Read a Pet Food Label for more information on that. And feeding a not complete and balanced diet to your pet can have life-changing and detrimental health consequences for your pet. So they definitely should not be fed as the sole diet. Raw bones can chip, break, and wear down teeth. They can also get caught in the mouth, between the teeth, on the roof of the mouth, and circular, short, raw bones can also get caught around the lower jaw. This happens a lot in dogs. They can also cause your pet to choke. They can cause lacerations or cuts in the mouth and in the GI tract, and they can cause foreign body obstructions, which have to be removed surgically. Raw egg whites contain an enzyme that inhibits the absorption of biotin. This is a B vitamin that's very important for skin and coat health, so feeding raw eggs can actually decrease the health of your pet's skin and coat. All milk products can cause diarrhea or severe digestive upset due to the lactose or sugar that it contains. Dogs and cats are what we call lactose intolerant because they don't have enough of the enzyme lactase to break down that sugar. That's why they get diarrhea. Raw milk also has just as much bacteria as raw meat. Pasteurization is the process in which milk is cooked to kill off most of the disease-causing microorganisms in milk. So therefore, feeding unpasteurized milk is very dangerous for our dogs and cats. Fermented raw products have a ton of bacteria as well. The fermentation process might even cause these pathogens to overgrow because it's a very friendly environment for bacteria. There's absolutely no scientific evidence suggesting that fermented raw products are safe, healthy, or even complete and balanced, so it's best to avoid fermented raw products. Puppies and kittens are what we call immunoincompetent. This means that their immune systems are immature and not fully developed. So they're very prone to sickness that can be caused by bacterial contamination from raw products. Pregnant and lactating mothers can also transfer these bacteria to their babies through the placenta or milk. So pregnant and lactating mothers should not eat raw products either. Elderly pets, pets with health conditions or chronic diseases, are what we call immunocompromised. This means that their immune system is busy fighting something else, and when another disease is introduced, like the bacteria from raw products, they are very much more prone to illness. So they should not eat raw products either. Animals that live in homes that have babies, children, pregnant mothers, elderly owners, sick or chronically ill family members should not eat raw diets. All of these humans are immunocompromised or immunocompetent, and it can be very dangerous to the humans that live in the home if the pet eats a raw diet. Fruits and vegetables are generally safe options to feed your pet, and there is a small risk of bacterial contamination, which can be caused by mishandling, improper storage, or contaminated soil in which the plant was grown. To avoid this, just simply wash the product thoroughly under water before feeding it as a treat to your pet. Also, make sure you avoid any food products, especially fruits and vegetables, that might be toxic to your pet. And for more information on that, check out What Not to Feed: Unsafe Foods for Pets. Cooked pet food, like kibble or canned diets, are much safer than raw products as they have much less risk of bacterial contamination. Cooking, like I said before, destroys disease-causing microorganisms. The canning process actually sterilizes the food within the can, so canned products are arguably the safest products to feed our pets. Kibble is at a low risk of contamination as long as it's manufactured, sealed, and stored properly. Pets eating cooked commercial diets are at a much lower risk, as are their families and the community. Veterinarians who advocate for raw feeding should be encouraged to review the scientific literature that outlines all of the risks associated with feeding our companion animals raw diets. They should also familiarize themselves with the official policy statements from the AVMA, AHA, the CDC, and the FDA. Veterinarians, just like medical doctors, take an oath to do no harm. Advocating for raw can harm pets, humans, and the public. Also, veterinarians who advocate for feeding raw should be aware that pet owners can take legal action against them if their pet falls ill or, God forbid, if their family falls ill due to the raw diet that the veterinarian suggested. A veterinarian's primary goal should always be protecting pets, protecting humans, and protecting public health. Many pet owners are going to continue to feed raw despite the scientific evidence against it and the many warnings from veterinarians and public health experts. If you are one of those pet parents, please take the necessary precautions to protect your pet, your family, and the public. First and foremost, you're going to want to stay updated on the scientific literature and the official statements that are made by regulatory agencies and veterinary associations. You're also going to want to visit the FDA recall site frequently to make sure that the foods and treats you're feeding are not being recalled due to bacterial contamination. You're going to want to wash your hands, countertops, kitchen sink, pet food dishes, and floors immediately after you prepare and feed your pet a raw diet. You're going to want to feed your pet in an isolated, easily cleaned area of the home that is away from the kitchen. And you're going to want to store their dishes and their food away from human dishes and food. You're also going to need to wash your pet's toys, bedding, and apparel frequently to cut down on bacterial contamination on these items. Also, please ensure your raw-fed pet does not contact any young, elderly, or immunocompromised humans or animals. This includes in the home, at the dog park, on the street, or in the veterinary clinic. Clean up after your pet defecates, especially if you're in a public place, and throw away their feces in a sealed container that other animals or children cannot access. When you take your pet to the veterinarian, make sure you warn the hospital staff over the phone ahead of time that your pet eats a raw diet. This is so that the veterinary staff can take the necessary precautions to welcome you into the clinic. They're going to need to clean the exam room and the waiting room very thoroughly after you leave. They also might feel the need to wear gloves, gowns, or other personal protective equipment to make sure that they don't transfer bacteria from your pet to other patients or rooms in the hospital. Veterinarians also may recommend routine blood work every time your pet visits to make sure that they're staying healthy while they're eating a raw diet. Thank you so much for watching this Popular Topics video on raw diets. I hope I cleared up any confusion you might have had and answered all of your questions. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends, and comment down below if you have any questions or suggestions. Also, check out that video's description below. I have a ton of resources for you about raw diets, as well as a bunch of primary literature showing why raw diets are unsafe. Also, check out feedingravendoodles.com. This website has all of my articles, videos, and resources in one place for you. Next time, we're going to be talking about treats, table scraps, and food toppers. Oh, say bye, Raven.